Wow, I have not been on the podcast in so long. There is so much I want to talk about. This is going to be like a super rambly podcast. I just spent like an hour trying to figure out how to connect my camera to record for the podcast because I kind of want to start putting the podcast on YouTube, but with better quality. And yeah, so I just spent like an hour trying to figure that out because photography and video are so different. They're the same concept, but video, I don't know. It's a little bit harder for me to understand. And so I just like watched a lot of YouTube videos and was like, okay, what are the settings? What do I need to do for to make sure I'm in focus without having to be like at the back of my camera because I don't have a producer. I'm doing this all by myself. So I just spent so long trying to figure that out. So hopefully this works and hopefully this video will go on YouTube and hopefully it's even recording. I think it is. But anyways, I just spent so much time trying to do that. So this podcast is going to be really rambly. I'm not going to be like teaching anything, but I am going to be just like talking to you guys about what's been going on, what's happening like within my businesses and, things like that. And I am trying to write currently. So let's just talk about the podcast really quick. Currently, I'm trying to like upgrade the podcast. I really want to do more video for the podcast for YouTube, and I want to just make it like more of like a production and show up. And I don't know, I've just been getting a lot of inspiration from like people that I watch podcasts of, and they've been like upgrading their sets and like they're just like their production level is just so good, and I just admire that, and I want to be the type of person that does that. I know I'm a one-man show right now, so it's a little bit harder when you're doing it by yourself, but I know that if I put in the work, it'll be successful because I just believe that it will be. But anyways, yeah, so that's like what's happening with the podcast. I want to be more consistent. And I think I really procrastinate the podcast because I'm so scared of what people will think when I'm like just speaking and being vulnerable. And, I just don't want, I'm just such a big people pleaser. I don't want anybody to think like I'm an awful person, even though I'm not. And I know not everyone's going to like me. And I even preach this exact concept to people. But it's just, your head is annoying. Those thoughts in your head are annoying. And oh my gosh, my dog just moved the camera. I just saw it like, oh my gosh. Having two dogs, I might have to get a babysitter to watch my dogs while I freaking record the podcast, because one of the things too is like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared that they're going to bark. Like Amazon's going to come and they're going to just start barking. But hopefully that didn't ruin the video. But anyways, I don't even know where I was going with that. Oh, the podcast. I feel like I procrastinate the podcast a lot because I'm really scared of like what people think of me because I'm such a big people pleaser. I want everyone to like me, and that's just not going to happen. There's going to be people that disagree with me, and I'm going to have opinions that people disagree with me with. And so I just don't want to put my voice out there, but I'm kind of over it. I'm just like, you know what? I don't like certain people, but I don't think they're bad people. I just don't vibe with them. And the exact same thing is going to happen to me too. Some people just aren't going to connect with me, and that's okay. But the people that will watch the podcast, will listen to the podcast, will follow me on Instagram. So I just have to not let that affect me and just, pretend that they don't even exist. And, haters are kind of good because when you finally start getting haters, that means that you're doing something right. You're way more successful. So yeah, that is what's happening. I'm trying to upgrade the podcast. I actually went on Amazon and bought some lights for the podcast. They're like these, I don't even know what to call them. I think they're softbox lights. They're continuous lights, but they're like it's like a little bubble. So I'm hoping that the lighting will be better because the lighting in my room, I only have this small little window in front of me right now, and I don't have any other light source coming in. So I really wanted something where I can like record at any time, like even if it's cloudy, even if it's like, I don't know, at night or something. I want to be able to have like good lighting at all times, so it doesn't like, I don't have to wait until it's like a really sunny day to record the podcast. So I bought those on Amazon, and hopefully they work out, because I also want to use them to record my courses that I'm going to be, recording soon. I actually have a course that I'm working on right now for Instagram, or it's to help photographers with Instagram. So I'm really excited about that. It'll just up the level of quality and production. And I just want to be known for someone that like, I don't know, has really good service and quality. And it's not just like something I threw up and, sell to people, scam people, because that's not the vibe. I'm not scamming anyone. I just want a good quality of service and product. And that's what I do with photography. So I'm just implementing that. My dog just moved my camera, so let's pause. Let me resituate this. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully the camera is okay. I'm gonna have to fix that. My dogs are always underneath my desk, and that's where I'm recording right now, is not underneath my desk. I'm at my desk. My dogs are like underneath my desk, so that she kept like moving. And I feel like the camera is a little crooked right now, but we're just gonna go with the flow. We're just gonna continue doing what we're doing. So yeah, that's what's that on the podcast. I'm just, I'm tired of just not doing it just because I feel like people are going to judge me. Whatever. They're my opinions. And, deep down, I know I'm a good person. And so what anybody thinks on the internet, whatever, it's okay. They don't know me. And people that, will stick around because they love me too. So it'll be fine. I'll be fine. So that's the tea on the podcast. I really want to be consistent because I listen to so many podcasts. I watch a lot of podcasts now, which is kind of what inspired me to just start recording the podcast and, getting ready for the podcast and like having good quality video for YouTube. So I can also show up everywhere. I'm like on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Pinterest. Like I want to be everywhere, and it just makes you look a little bit more professional. It doesn't look like I'm I don't know why I keep going to this, but like scamming people, because I think I see a lot of threads on Reddit, which I also just need to get off because it's so negative. Well, not my reality TV show subreddits, but mostly like I'm in this like wedding photography group, and they talk so much shit. It's actually insane. I don't understand. It's like, it's just bad vibes. Usually, like I see some good stuff, but it's usually just like, it's probably like just a bunch of men that are just annoyed by women, which is very annoying. They really talk a lot of shit about like people that are educators, and they just don't like that for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why, because there's actually men in the group that are educators, but no one ever talks shit about them, which is very interesting. I feel like women just have it so much harder. We're judged so much, but I just maybe just need to get off that and just stop reading about it. They're not my ideal client anyways. I don't want a bunch of men that don't care to hear women out. That's just me. So yeah, upgrading the podcast. Hopefully this video looks good. I'm like so worried because my dog moved it. This is my first time recording. I'm like, is it going to stop recording? I don't think so. I'm using actually a Sony camera, and for my wedding photography, I shoot Nikon. And so I'm using a Sony, which is like, has different buttons. All the buttons are different, and it's also recording videos. So I'm like, I think I got it right. I tested it out a few times, and I'm praying and hoping that the video quality is good and it's not like grainy or weird when I upload it to my computer. But even then, honestly, it's better than nothing. It'll be okay. We'll learn from this. So I'll be fine. Something else that I wanted to talk about, let's go through my notes because I wrote a few things that I wanted to talk about. Oh, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is I booked my biggest package, I think like a month ago, 2 months ago. What is time? I'm not really sure. I booked my biggest package ever, which is so exciting because I think the package, I should have looked before I came on and recorded this, but I think the package was around $9,000, maybe $9,500. Yeah, it definitely was around there. So I love how I'm like, I booked my biggest package and I don't even know what the actual number is. It's fine. So I booked my highest package, and it's just incredible because when I first started wedding photography, like I started, my first package was like a senior session and it was $75. And when I first started wedding photography, I think my lowest package was, I think, maybe $1,000, maybe a little bit less than that. I can't quite remember because I always I just raise my packages very often. I change things up just because I was like learning the wedding industry because I had never been in it. I didn't know anybody in it. So I was just kind of like testing to see what works. And so now I'm kind of like, set solid on what I think will work, especially since I started my business. It's a whole different market in DFW. So I really had to learn and grow and like see like what people would actually pay me, what I'm worth, and all of that stuff. So I booked my biggest package, and it's so great because I remember going to my first photography workshop, and I think it was around when I first started wedding photography. I had been doing portrait photography for a while, but I had just started wedding photography. So I went to this business workshop. It wasn't like wedding specific. It was just a business workshop. And one of the speakers was talking about how one of his packages was $10,000. And at the time I was like, there is literally no way you're charging $10,000 for wedding photography. And then they started talking about like more luxury weddings and, how like Jose Villa's like shooting, like 20K plus weddings just with wedding photography. No, that's not like just, photo and video. No, it's like it is a big package. And I'm sure his packages are even more now. That honestly, 20K seems like kind of low for the type of wedding he shoots because he's doing like big name celebrities and like people that have a lot of money, even if they're not famous. So when I heard that at that workshop, I was like, I'm never going to get there. There's just no way. I didn't even think that was possible until he said something. And so it did kind of change my mindset a little bit. Like I knew at the time when I was at that workshop, there's no way I could charge 10K. Like I was good at photography, but I wasn't like that good. And I had just started weddings. So I had maybe 3 weddings under my belt at that time. So there was just based on my experience and everything else, there was just no way I was going to start charging $10,000 for weddings. But it did open my eyes to see that as a possibility. And I think since then, I've always kind of been like, okay, that's kind of the goal. Like I want to be able to shoot weddings that are 10K because now I at the time I didn't feel like I was worthy of that, but now with all the weddings that I have under my belt, the client experience that I give to my clients, I know that it is worth that much. Like there are photographers out there that don't care about their clients. They just show up, that's it. They don't really care about the experience. They don't really do much before, after. They don't give the kind of care that I give to my clients, especially like the day of. And I give that care and I know I am worth that amount. And, my biggest package isn't my lowest package. So I have 3 different packages and that's my highest package of them all. And so the other day I was looking and I was like, dang, my highest package does include a lot. Don't get me wrong. Like it has rehearsal dinner, it has engagement session, it has bridals, it has like full coverage of the day. So it's not like, it's not like I'm pricing it at that for like 6 hours of coverage. It does include a lot, and it's a lot of my time, a lot of editing afterwards because it has like 3 different sessions on there, including the wedding with a second photographer. So that's so many images of the day before, the bridals, their engagement session. It's a lot of work. So I do feel like that it's worth it, but it's just so cool to know that I finally, got to that place where I'm like, wow, it is possible. And I hope that encourages you, because trust me, I started at like charging $1,000 for weddings, which is still a lot of money. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, honestly, like I would take a $1,000 wedding now, but I hope this just like gives you hope that it is possible to grow, but you have to start putting yourself out there. You have to put in the work to get there. You need to start shooting weddings. You maybe do a wedding for free, like just get into the industry. Or even if it's not weddings, like there are so many family photographers that I know on the internet that make so much money doing family sessions because they're selling prints. They're giving their clients like an ultra luxury experience. They're giving their clients a luxury service, as in they are providing their client a very unique experience, an experience that nobody else would give them. Like they're talking to them, they're, giving them a mood board. They're doing a lot of work for their client. They're not just like, hey, here are my prices. Okay, you booked. All right, cool. I'll see you the day of. No, they're like working with their clients to see what they're wanting, to see what kind of like images they're wanting, what the experience is afterwards when they're like buying their prints and doing all that stuff. So they're doing a different experience, but it's the same thing. Like you want your overall experience to match the price point as well. So you should never I say this, but I didn't raise my prices until I knew the experience was going to be better than my past prices. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I never raised my prices until I raised the experience and made it more luxury. Like when you go to a hotel or to a restaurant and they know your name and they're like remembering things and they're coming at you at the right time. Like if you're at a restaurant and like they're giving you all these extras and all this stuff, like that to me is a luxury experience, even if I'm not at like a 5-star hotel. Like even if I'm at a freaking like motel or something and they're like remembering my name and they're doing all this stuff. But again, like if I'm staying in a motel, they're probably not doing that because the price is so low. But if I'm going to, I don't even know. I've never stayed at a luxury hotel, but I just know from like movies and TV shows. But like or like influencers that I follow, but if you're staying like a 5-star hotel, like they're bringing you everything. They're bringing you extra towels. You never have to use the same towel again. Like that is the luxury experience that I want to give to my clients. But in the photography form, like I really, really care about them and I want them to have the best experience. And so all that to say is that I finally booked my highest package and it just feels really good. I just can't believe it, because like not even 3 years ago, that's like when I heard that this guy was talking about like booking 10K weddings, and I was like, you've got to be joking me. That doesn't even seem real. Like that doesn't even seem real, because at the time, I was like maybe making, I think my packages were like $900, baby. The max was like $2,000 for weddings. And to me, that seemed like so much money. But I also have to, my money mindset had to shift too, because what I can afford and what someone else can afford is way, way different. Like right now, could I afford a 10K photographer? Probably not. Would I make it work? Yes, because I am a photographer and I know like the value of it, but I couldn't do that right now and also get married and also like, have like this amazing wedding experience for my guest or whatever. Like I couldn't have like a 100K wedding right now. There's just no way. So I really had to work on my money mindset and think like, I am my ideal client, but not in the pricing sense. Like I could not afford that. And so I really had to work on my money mindset and just think like, just because I can't afford this doesn't mean that everyone else can't either. There are people that are massively wealthy. There's people, their parents are really wealthy, so they're paying for the wedding, they're paying for all this stuff. So I really had to learn how to like kind of separate those two, like what I can afford, what they can afford, completely different things, and just had to charge my worth. And I finally feel like at the pricing that I am at right now, just like, I think I'm starting at like $6,000 for wedding photography. That is like, I feel like that's good. I don't feel the need to change it. Like I feel like that's really, really solid. And at first it was tough because since my pricing jumped so high, I did find myself in kind of like a lull. I didn't really have a lot of people reaching out, but now when I do have people reaching out and inquiring with me, it's really easy to book them because they know my brand, they know everything just based off my website, they know how much I start off at, and they're just, I don't know, they just are easier to book now. And it's not like a struggle because I felt like before then I started at like $3,000 before I raised my prices by a lot. And I felt like I was in this kind of like dead zone. Like I was way too expensive for like lower budget weddings, but I wasn't high enough for like more luxury weddings. So I was kind of like in the middle. And when you're buying a product, when you're buying a service, it's kind of weird when you're like expecting like a certain price and it's lower than that. You're like, kind of iffy. You think that even like when you're buying makeup, you're like, okay, well, the e.l.f. will work, but is it as good as, the Sephora brands? I don't know. But I think for photography, like a lot of people were like, maybe like, why is her pricing so low? Because it was kind of, I don't know, it just wasn't adding up, I think, in people's minds of why my pricing was so low. It's hard to explain because I don't know if that's actually true. I'm just kind of maybe justifying it. But yeah, so I booked my highest package. It was amazing. I have worked really hard in order to do that. Like my branding is so much different than it was when I moved to DFW. And so I really had to learn and navigate like what the wedding market is here. It is so much different than like a smaller town. And so growing here has been a little bit harder, but it hasn't been that hard. So I've just been like, wow, okay, learning lessons everywhere. You can never stay complacent because things always change. So I'm always learning and growing, and I just wanted to talk about it because, I don't know, a lot of people don't talk about this stuff. Like I follow a lot of photographers these days, and, not everyone's talking about like the stuff that the business side of things. Like they're always talking about the good stuff. And obviously I just talked about the good stuff too, but there's also hard parts about it. Like I really had to learn, like I had to go through a period where I wasn't booking anything because I was like, is my pricing too low? Is it too high? I really had to test things out. And it was hard. I'm not going to lie. Like moving to a different city is hard. So these are the things that I want to talk about on this podcast. I just want to talk about and be vulnerable with you guys about like what I'm going through, what I'm currently at, and not just talk about the good stuff. Although the good stuff is really good, but I love listening to the podcast where I'm like hearing their struggles in real time, even if it's like a month after they've gone through it, just because it's so, I don't know, it's almost motivating because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one that is struggling. I'm not the only one that feels this way. And so that's like the kind of stuff that I really want to talk about in the podcast and be a little bit more vulnerable, which leads me to talking about my education business and building my education business and just like what I'm doing to build it. So I have my wedding photography business, which is doing good. I'm not doing amazing, but I'm not doing bad. It's just kind of like there because I'm trying to build this education business. I had always wanted to be in education, even when I first started photography, which I had no business teaching anyone at that time, but I still like had that like itch. I remember when I first started photography, I wanted to start a YouTube channel, like teaching other photographers about what I'm doing, what I'm going through, stuff like that. I just never did it because I was in school, I was working, and I was trying to do photography. So I had a lot on my plate, but I have always had this itch to do it. And I started my education Instagram like 2 years ago. And I had not really done anything with it. I grew it a little bit. Like I went from having, like I started this education account from scratch. I did not have any followers. And then now I have, I think, 1,800 followers on there, which is honestly really good. But within 2 years, I don't know how great that is. So I wasn't really taking it that seriously before this year. I just was procrastinating it. It was just one of those things where it's like I just wanted to stay in my comfort level, which was just wedding photography. I was like, I can just book weddings and be okay. Like, I've made money through weddings, and I don't know. I kind of was scared to start another business, even though I had already started a business that was very successful, and I never thought it would be. I quit my job, dropped out of school because of this business, and I just had been so scared to start this education business. There are so many other people, like there's so many other photographers starting education businesses or have education businesses that are like teaching photographers. I don't know, a multitude of things. There's different people doing different things. And so that kind of scared me too. Like every time I saw someone like being really successful, I'm like, oh, there's no room for me. Like there's just not going to be any room for me. There's so many other people doing it. Like no one's going to want to like book me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is literally what happened in my photography business. And I will say there's probably way more photographers than there are photography educators. So the fact that I could build a photography business in a saturated market, like, girl, what are you doing? Like, of course you can start another business in a saturated market. You just have to do exactly what you did with photography. And it's so funny because it's exactly what I teach other photographers. It's like branding, standing out, how to market your business. And it wasn't until this year where I was like, oh my gosh, I really just need to take this seriously and kind of go all in with it, because I'm posting and then I'm not posting. And that's kind of what happened within the last 2 years, where I was just kind of like very, very inconsistent with it. Like I know I wanted to do it, but I just didn't do it. And so this year I was like, I am committed. I am going to do this. I've been wanting to do this for years now, and I'm not going to let other people stop me from doing what I want to do. That's just lame. Why would I do that? If I had said that starting my photography business, I would not have started my photography business. And so I started my education business back up with a little bit more momentum at the beginning of this year. And so what I've been trying to do is just build connections, build a brand, stand out, and just niche down. And I don't want to talk about or like teach. I don't want to teach photography basics. Like I don't want to teach how to use a camera or anything like that. My specialty is branding and marketing. I went to school for graphic design, so I know a lot about graphic design and branding and how to stand out and all of these things. So I learned a lot from that. I also took a lot of advertising classes. So I have a lot of expertise in doing that. And I've also built my business entirely from Instagram. I didn't really ever do paid ads. I did test it out, but it never really got me anywhere. Like it just didn't work for me. So I've always done like just organic Instagram marketing, and that's how I find my clients now. I've done a lot of things through Instagram solely. Right now, I'm actually networking more with planners to find clients that way. But when I first started my business, there goes my dog again, moving the camera. Hopefully the angle's okay. Oh my gosh. And so, yeah, I started my business through Instagram and social media, and I never even used TikTok. I post on TikTok for my wedding photography a little bit, but Instagram has just been where it's at. Like, I don't understand why people think Instagram is just like annoying, the devil. Like, it's honestly really easy for clients to find you on Instagram. It's just about having like a strategy and not just being boring and just posting your photos. Like there's so much that goes into it, but it's honestly really, really easy to do. You just have to figure out your brand and figure out how to stand out and like what makes you and what your mission is, what your values are. So figuring all that out is exactly what I'm implementing into my education business. So everything that I'm doing, that I did for my photography business, is what I'm doing for my education business, and what I'm doing and teaching other photographers, or wanting to teach other photographers. I don't really have any offers right now. I have my email templates that you can buy, but I'm working really hard on like creating a course for marketing on Instagram, just based on like what I've done, all my knowledge, all my expertise. I've done so many workshops and so many courses on this. So I just like have so much knowledge, and I want to create a course where it just like kind of walks you through step by step by step on exactly what to do for your Instagram and how to market on Instagram to grow your business. So that's what's next. I don't really know where that was going, but a little shout out to me for, making that course. So I haven't really offered anything this year, but I'm working on that course. So that's going to be my next offer that I drop, is going to be my Instagram marketing course, which I'm really excited about. Right now I'm going through all the content, writing all the content. And then the next step is to like make a PowerPoint, add some video, record all the things. So it's going to be a lot, but I'm really excited because, oh my gosh, I feel like people just need to know these things, and their business will grow so, so much. And even if you were to implement these exact steps, not just on Instagram, but on other platforms like Pinterest or even TikTok, like your business will grow so much. People just need to know like the step-by-step. And honestly, I don't really know anybody else doing it. I can't really say, at least for photography, like I know there's a lot of like social media people, but no one really knows, or I haven't seen like a course specifically for photographers. But again, I don't follow any photography educators because I just don't, that's just going to ruin my mood. And I don't want to subconsciously like copy any photographers doing education. So I just don't follow anyone. I kind of have my blinders on. I'm not friends with anybody that does education. So I just like, I'm like, okay, I don't need to follow anyone right now. But if I did, I'd probably mute them because I just don't want to feel bad. I don't want like, there's some photography educators that have like hundreds and thousands of followers. And I'm like, I don't have that many, but that's okay. It's okay. That doesn't like diminish what I'm doing at all. I'm in my own lane. I'm doing stuff that is way different to what they're doing, hopefully. I don't look, so I have no idea, but I'm just going to focus on myself, brand myself, and just create like this movement that I want to do. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing for the education stuff. I'm really focusing on Instagram right now. I have been wanting to focus on a lot of things like TikTok, Instagram, and Pinterest, but I just need to focus on one thing right now. So Instagram has been that one thing that I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on this. And then my next focus is the podcast, like recording and making the podcast really, really good and uploading it to YouTube. It just takes a lot of work. Editing, like recording the podcast is easy because I'm just talking to myself and that's all. But editing the podcast is a little bit harder. But yeah, I'm really excited about the things that are going on. I finally launched my website this year, which I had been, again, procrastinating for so long. I had a Show It website for like a year that I never published. I semi-finished, but never actually finished. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna start all over. And I ended up going to Squarespace instead of Show It because I couldn't really sell anything on Show It unless I like had like add-ons and all this stuff. So on Squarespace, you can sell stuff within their platform. So I thought it would just be a lot easier to do it on Squarespace instead of Show It. But I still love Show It. I use Show It for my photography stuff. It's just that Squarespace has a lot more options for what I'm wanting to do with the education business, like email marketing, selling products, and also they have like a course thing that I can use for my courses. So that's why I chose Squarespace, which I don't know if you wanted to know that, but here we are. So yeah, I'm trying to see what else I wanted to talk about. And building a business, it's really hard at the beginning because it just feels so slow. I don't have like a lot of people that are like engaging or like commenting on my stuff. And honestly, that can be kind of discouraging. Like, I think I had one post that had like maybe a like on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. And so I get in my head for a little bit, but then I'm like, oh my gosh, who cares? I am out here just going for it, doing it. I don't need to worry about if things are getting likes anyways, because there are so many people that are silent followers. I would consider myself a silent follower. I don't really comment on other people's stuff, even if I like them. Like, I've like had coaches in the past where I'd never commented on any of their stuff. I barely liked their post because instead of liking their post, I would go on their profile, go to their website. So they're like doing other actions and not just commenting and liking and doing all that stuff. So I just have to remember that there are people that like me and want to hear from me. They just don't show it in the likes and the comments and the DMs. And I'm one of those people. I don't really DM that many people ever on social media. So I just have to remember, like, there are people like that. And it's so funny because my sister the other day, I don't know, like a few weeks ago, she was saying that a lot of the people that have inquired with her don't even follow her, which is so wild to me because that is so true. That actually happens with me in photography. Like, some of the people that inquire with me don't even follow me. And I'm like, what? Like, that makes no sense. Like, and even after they book, sometimes they don't even follow me. So there are silent followers. And you also have to remember that, like, not everyone that's going to book you is going to be engaging with you and commenting and liking. Like, those things should not matter at all. What should matter is that you're out there selling, you're out there posting on Instagram, despite how many likes you're getting, despite like the engagement you're getting. The people that need to see it will see it. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna be there. They're probably silent followers because not everyone comments on their stuff. Like, I even have like influencers that I love, that I adore, that I would do anything for, even though I only know them on social media, but I never comment on their stuff. I don't comment on their YouTubes. I don't comment on their TikToks, or, you know, I'll like their TikToks and stuff, but I don't do much else, even though I still buy their products and buy what they're recommending and all this stuff. So you just kind of have to switch your perspective on that stuff, because although my growth with my education stuff feels really, really slow, I know that I'm putting in the work to eventually like get more followers and get people loving me, even if they're not commenting. Like, that doesn't really, those things don't really matter. They're just vanity metrics that, you know, they matter, but they don't matter at the same time. I just try to be neutral about it. I don't really care. I don't really ever look to see who's looking at my stories. I don't really ever look to see like how many likes I got or anything like that. I just focus on what I can control, and what I can control is posting every day and growing my brand and like showing up and just being there, being the person that's like talking about what they're selling and what they're doing and growing a brand. So yeah, don't let the likes, the engagement, don't let the slow growth affect you, because I know how hard it is to, you know, not be like, you know, growing 1,000 followers a week like these people make reels about, and like, oh, how I got 1 million views on my reel and this is how I did it. Like, who cares? There's some people that are going to grow really fast, but I'm always like, slow growth is still growth and it's sustainable. I probably couldn't handle 1,000 more people following me right now and like asking me for stuff and doing all that stuff. Like, my DMs would like blow up. Like, I couldn't even handle that. So I don't want it. I just don't want it. So you just have to remember, slow growth is okay. You're gonna get there. It's gonna suck in the beginning. And I think a lot of people give up when they're not seeing immediate results. And of course, it's just the time we live in. We want everything fast. Amazon 2-day shipping, like, we want things like day of result, but we gotta chill. I'm saying all of this, I'm saying to myself too, like, we got to chill. We cannot get immediate results all of the time. But when you put in the work, that's why I don't really try that hard with my photography Instagram, because I have put in so much work into that, into my brand, that I don't even need to show up that much anymore. I still need to, but I don't need to show up like I had been in the past. And so that's what I just keep telling myself, like, you'll be okay. Like the slow growth is fine. Like it's fine. We all just need to chill. We don't need to have a million likes or a million comments for people to love you. Like there are silent followers, I promise. Like some people that bought my email templates, I'm like, I don't even know who you are. Like, where have you been? I don't know if you've even liked a post of mine, but they still bought. And so you really have to remember that. All right, let's see. What else did I want to talk about? Feeling invisible. I feel a little bit invisible right now. I don't feel like I'm getting too much engagement. So we already talked about that. Oh, and then time too. I wanted to talk about how it seems like some people have just an infinite amount of time. They don't have kids. They have help. And so you're comparing yourself to people that either have a lot more time than you, don't have kids but have nannies. And so you really, again, you just got to put your blinders on and do what you can do. I personally, I don't have any kids, so I have a lot of time to put into my business and grow it and be on Instagram all the time and do this and do that. And I just have a lot of time, and I know that I have a lot of time, but for me, it feels like I don't have that much time, which is so funny because then I'll talk to someone with kids and I'm like, how do you even have time to do anything? But they still do it. They find the time to do it. I just don't prioritize my time really well. And so I'll even find myself comparing myself to like people that are doing things really well, like producing podcasts that are like amazing, but they also have help. They have producers, they have people that are editing the show. All they have to do is show up, talk to the camera with their guest, and then they just leave and they pay the person to produce it or whatever. And so right now I don't have a lot of profit to outsource the producing, but I do have time. And so that's just what I'm going to have to exchange right now is my time in order to like produce my own podcast or whatever. So I hope that made sense. But yeah, just comparing yourself is going to be the death of you. Don't compare yourself. Literally just put your blinders on. Do what you can do. Again, this is all like I'm speaking to you, but I'm also speaking to myself because I'm like, oh my God, these people are doing this. They're doing that. They're posting on Reels. They're on Instagram. They're doing all these things, but they also have help. So I'm just doing the best I can. I'm going to start small. I'm going to do this podcast, record it, and it'll be okay. Even if it takes me a day, like I know that eventually this will lead to more momentum, more growth, more whatever, just by starting this podcast and the video. It'll help with my growth. It'll help with my growth overall, because if I don't do anything at all, I'm not going to grow. I'm just not going to post, and then I'm just going to fall back to my comfort zone and not do anything at all and just be mad because I'm not growing, but then I'm not doing anything about it. So that's a little lesson from me to you today. And then what else did I want to talk about? Okay, I think the only thing that I wanted to talk about was what I have been watching and what I've been loving and all of the things TV, because that is like my favorite thing to do these days. Well, these days, I love TV. I love going to the movies. That's like my favorite hobby. And every time I say that TV is my favorite hobby, I always feel so weird about it because I feel like people that love TV are often looked as like couch potatoes or like lazy and just, I don't know, why can't TV be a hobby? Normalize watching TV being a hobby. It's what I like to do. You know, I'm not going to be ashamed anymore. Because I just love, and specifically right now, I love reality TV. So I have been watching The Traitors, which is so good. It is just like all of reality TV coming together, and it is amazing. I love it so much. The second season is a little bit better than the first season, but it's so funny because I watched the first season and no one talked about it. Like no one was talking about it. So that's a little flex for me because I always watch TV shows for the first season and then, or like their, pilot season, and no one starts talking about it until the second season. That happened to me with White Lotus, Yellow Jackets. There's so many shows where people start talking about it the second season. But anyways, I just love watching TV. So I always know what's good. And I'm always like going through, I have like everything. I have Peacock, I have Paramount, I have Filio, I'm trying to think of what else there is, Hulu, Netflix, I have it all. Because of course, every single show is on a different platform, which is actually so annoying, but it's fine. That's just how it is. It's an investment in my happiness. So that's my justification for it. So yeah, I've been watching The Traitors, which is so good. And if you like Survivor, try watching Australian Survivor because, oh my gosh, Australian Survivor is just on another level than the recent US Survivor. It is so freaking good. Go on Reddit, see how you can watch Australian Survivor because I think there's no it's not on Paramount or Peacock or anything like that in the US. So you have to watch it like on this other website. But if you go on Reddit, they'll tell you how to watch it. It's like this website. I don't know the name of it. And anyways, so I've been watching Australian Survivor and it's just so good. And you would think like, who's better than Jeff at hosting Survivor? Well, there is someone that is just as good and is Australian Survivor. And another show that I have been loving is The Challenge. I love The Challenge. It is so good. Again, it brings in like people that have done The Challenge, that have been on Are You the One, which I don't watch. I think I've only seen like one season of it. I don't really like it, so I didn't really watch any of it, but they bring in people from Love Island. The reason I started watching The Challenge is because they brought in people from Survivor, and the first challenge that I watched was with Sarah that was on Survivor. And so that's why I started watching it. And I'm trying to think of what else. I posted it on my Instagram story because I was like, oh, this is all I watch. And I was like, oh, that is a lot. Oh, my friend Alex put me on Drag Show, which is also really good. I love competition shows too. So that's something about me. I love a good competition show. I've always wanted to be on Survivor, but I just think if I can't eat, I am a terrible person. So I don't want to be on an island starving with people I don't even know and cameras all around me. I would get canceled, guys. I am not well when I am starved. I'm just not well. I don't do well. I would just become a monster on TV if I was not eating, but maybe I wouldn't have the energy to even be a monster. I would just be dying inside. I don't know. But the reason I even want to be on Survivor now is because I want to be on The Challenge so bad because they get to eat, but their challenges are so cool. Their final challenge is very like endurance driven, and I've always been really, really good with endurance. So I'm just like, oh my God, I need to be on The Challenge, but I have to be on another reality show to be on The Challenge, and I'm not going on Are You the One or Love Island because I have a boyfriend of like 8 years. So that doesn't make sense for me to do that. I'm trying to think if there's other people Big Brother. They brought in people from Big Brother, which Big Brother I don't watch at all. I started watching it when Sari from Survivor was on it, and I just couldn't get into it. The editing style seemed kind of cheesy, and I don't know. But I have been seeing a lot of things about The Bachelor on my For You page on TikTok, and everyone's talking about Maria and this other girl. I'm not really sure what her name is, but they have like beef and everyone's like loving Maria, and I'm like, maybe I'll start watching The Bachelor. I don't know. I've always really been against The Bachelor. I just don't like the idea of like one man and like 15 women or however many women there are fighting against him, and the other way around, like one woman, 10 guys, whatever. I've just never really liked that. So I've never really watched it, but everyone that I know watches it and they like it. So I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, should I just watch it? I watch everything else reality TV, so I might as well just start watching it. But I'm very intrigued with the Maria aspect of it all. I want to see what's going on with that feud. Maybe I'll just get updates on TikTok, but I don't know. A lot of people in my DMs were like, you need to watch it. And I was like, okay, maybe after I finish all of my other shows, because the shows that I'm watching right now are coming out weekly. So it's not like I'm binging all these shows every week. I'm having to basically create a schedule of like when all these shows come out. Like Drag Show comes out on Fridays, and The Challenge comes out on Wednesday, and then Survivor Australia comes on like every other day. It's just a lot to keep up with, but it's one of those things that brings me a lot of joy. So I just keep doing it. Okay, so is that it? I don't think I have anything more to say. I will try to keep up the podcast weekly. No promises, but I'm going to try because honestly, now that I know how to do the video with my Sony, hopefully the video is okay. My dog moved the camera again in this video, so I'm like, oh my gosh, hopefully it's not like crooked, too crooked at least. I know it's a little crooked, I can see it, but anyways, I'm going to try to keep up and just, I don't know, I love talking to you guys and like updating you on what's going on in real time and just being a little bit more vulnerable, putting my opinions out there and just being okay with that because I love podcasts like that. And one of the things that I really wish more of so I have like this category of like podcasts, like I listen to really funny podcasts where they don't talk about business at all. And then I have like podcasts where it's a little bit more businessy. I try not to actually listen to a lot of that stuff because it's just like, I don't need to learn more. I just got to do what I know right now. And so I do have like a few business podcasts, self-help podcasts that I do listen to, but they only talk about like that subject. And I kind of wish there was like a merge of things where they would talk about their personal life, what they're going through, whether it's, reality TV or anything else. Like I really wish they would merge all of that stuff together because I think I would like them a lot more and maybe listen to a lot more of their stuff. Because right now I really only listen to podcasts that are like funny or like a lot of banter, a lot of rambles. Like I just love stories and, the business podcasts, some of them just don't do that. And I kind of want to be the one that like merges everything together because it's so boring to only do education stuff. And I never want to just like do that because it's, again, like it's so boring. At least to me, like I don't want to do that. And I want to merge all my interests because I have a lot of interest. I just started coloring and I love reality TV and I love TV shows, not just reality TV. I love right now, currently, I am watching a lot of reality TV, but like even just like a few months ago, I was like watching other shows that aren't reality TV that are really, really good. So I just want to be able to talk about all my interests. I'm a very multi-passionate gal, and I want to talk about it all. I don't want to stick to one thing, which is literally why I named this podcast Eclectic Conversations, because I don't want to just stick to one thing. I want to talk about it all. And I do want to talk about my business, but I also want to talk about other shit. So yeah, it is what it is. And that's what I'm going to do. And if you don't like it, that's fine. I know that some people hate rambly podcasts, and I know some people that love it. And I am some people that love it. I love rambly podcasts. There's some people that they could talk about, like I have some influencers that I follow that could talk about anything, and I'll listen just because I just love listening to people just talk about their story, what they're going through, their business, what's going on in their business, what they're doing. And so, yeah, I just want to merge it all together and talk about it because why not? That's how I'm going to stand out. There's not a lot of podcasts that do that. So here I am. One of a kind. We're all one of a kind. So don't think it's just me. Like, you got to be confident in that. You're unique. You are one of a kind. And you got to put yourself out there and just do the thing that you want to do. Don't let any other distractions distract you, and just keep doing you. So that's all I have to say on today's podcast. And I hope to see you next week. Bye, guys.